All right, guys, we are on week 3, module 2. This is surviving the camps and thesis formation. Our objective for today is that students will be able to, in writing, determine whether or not they believe the Holocaust to be the worst event in history after analyzing multiple sources and writing a fully formed thesis paragraph. Our language objective for today is that students will be able to use propositions to complete a written source about concentration camps during the Holocaust. Remember that our essential question for this module is, was the Holocaust the worst event in human history? Some need-to-know vocabulary for this particular lesson. The first one is the Gestapo. The Gestapo was the official secret police force of Nazi Germany and German-occupied Europe. They were founded in 1933. They were the ones that were basically responsible for rounding up and deporting Jews across the German territory to first concentration camps and then to extermination camps. The next vocabulary word we need to know is concentration camp. It's a type of prison where large numbers of people who were not soldiers were being kept during a time of war and were usually forced to live in very bad conditions. Nazi Germany maintained many concentration camps throughout the territory it controlled before and during the Second World War. We learned about a couple of those in our last module. All right, let's take a look at our do now. You're going to examine the image below, and then you're going to answer the questions that go with it. Please be sure your answer is in a complete sentence. So if we're looking here at this image, this is an image of immigrants and their children waiting at a deportation facility in Texas after being torn from their homes. This is, of course, a modern example of oppression happening in the world today. Not just in the world, in fact, in our country, down in Texas. Think about the first steps of the Holocaust as families were taken from their homes and placed in ghettos, and answer the questions below. What is similar about the deportation events today and the Holocaust? So what's similar about what was happening in Nazi-occupied Germany and German territory, and what's similar to what is happening in our country and around the world today with deportation facilities? The second part of the question is, what do you believe makes this form of oppression so awful? You are typing that response in the box there. This type of oppression is awful because. Once you've done that, move on to this next section. Today we're focusing our attention on what is a proposition. This should be a pretty quick language practice. Once you have read about what a proposition is, make sure you're fully completing the activity below. Each of the following prepositions is used exactly one time in the paragraph below, so type the correct proposition in the blanks as they're filled in. I'll show you what that means in just a second. Let's define what a proposition is. A proposition is a word that links nouns and pronouns to other words in the sentence. Prepositions usually describe the position of something, the time when something is happening, and or the way something is being done. An example of that is, she arrived after dinner, or the man is on the platform. After is the preposition in the first part, on is the preposition in the second one. Here's the word bank that you're going to be using to complete this cloze activity below. You're using across, around, between, below, in, onto, with, without, up, over, out, despite, and since. So there are blanks here in this paragraph. You would fill in the blanks just by typing in them. If you believe the word in goes here, you just type it. If you feel like you would like to highlight it, that's also an option. The paragraph says, concentration camps were built all Europe during the Holocaust. Remember, you're filling in the word that best completes that sentence. Each camp was a giant barbed wire fence so big that none of the Jewish prisoners could get of the camp. Being treated horribly, these camps had to find a way to keep their spirits. It was hard to do, though. Prisoners had to sleep roofs with holes and any blankets. Living quarters were so crowded, people slept dozens of other prisoners. No space to themselves. During the day, they were forced to work with no food while guards watched, eager to crack a club if they disobeyed. They were prisoners. They had no way out other than death. Remember, each word is only being used one time. Go back through and double check that your sentences make sense. Read through the paragraph aloud to double check it. Once you've done that, move on to the first-hand account.